Sparkle or Hanabi is the newest Harmony character in-game, which some people have quoted as being the better Bronya. But is that true though? Well, to answer that, we have to delve into her kit. Starting off with her basic attack, it deals minor quantum damage as well as regenerates an additional 10 energy through her bonus ability, which means you're getting 30 energy per basic attack, which in turn will help you get your ultimate in like 3 attacks. As for her skill, it is a really insane one. It busts the crit damage of an ally by a ton, as well as advances forward their action by 50%. Bronya, on the other hand, advances forward an ally by 100% as well as cleanse a debuff on them, which makes her super useful. But Sparkle's buff lasts until the ally's next turn, meaning units who do follow-up attacks will have those attacks buffed as well. Whereas with Bronya, that won't be the case, since the buff will expire immediately after the ally's turn. Moving on to her talents, it increases all allies' max skill points to 7, and whenever an ally consumes skill points, it buffs the entire team's damage, stacking up to 3 times, meaning 3 skill points used. She also has a bonus ability of buffing attack by 15% for all and by an extra 30% when there are 3 quantum units in the team, including her. Moving on to her ultimate, she recovers 4 skill points upon use, as well as increase the damage bonus given by her talent by a maximum of 30% at level 10. And finally, we have her technique, which makes the team undetectable to enemies and regenerates 3 skill points when entering battle. So this technique is very useful when you are just hunting and of course when you enter battle. So to summarize all that crap, Sparkle is a quantum element unit following the path of Harmony. Her main role is to generate skill points and advance one ally, giving it a critical damage boost. She is super useful in teams that consume a lot of skill points, and at the same time she can help allies act more often. With all that being said, I would recommend leveling up her skill, burst and talent and keeping the basic attack to level 1, since it doesn't really provide any buffs and she ain't the damage dealer on your team anyway. I would recommend using 4-piece hacker space on her, since a 2-piece effect will increase Sparkle's speed by 6%, allowing you to get to the speed requirement easily, and the 4-piece effect will increase speed for everyone by 12% per ult. You can also run a combination of 2-piece hacker space and 2-piece wuthering waves. Wait, what? Anyway, 2-piece hacker space and 2-piece wuthering snow, or a 2-piece combination of hacker space and disciple. And if you don't have any of those, then you can make do with 4-piece musketeer. As for her ornament sets, Broken Keel is the best in my opinion, since it gives crit damage buff, followed by Fleet of the Ageless, which gives attack buff, and Penacony Land of Dreams, which is a solid choice in mono quantum teams. As for the stats, a crit damage body piece, speed boots, HP or defense spear, and an energy recharge rope is recommended, with a focus on getting as much speed and crit damage as possible in the substats. Now, without getting into the math, which will probably bore you to death, I would recommend getting her to 160 speed and having a full-blown offensive DPS with minimum emphasis on speed, because every cycle, Sparkle can advance forward the DPS by 50% as well as buff their damage by using her skill. And the other playstyle is having a Sparkle who is slightly slower than your DPS, typically 134 and 135 on DPS, which will activate the Glamour side effect. And like I said before, try to get as much crit damage as possible, typically between 170 and 210. And if you are running Broken Keel set, then get 10% effect rest through substats. And another thing I would like to mention is that if you are having trouble getting to 160 speed, then just run 2-piece hacker space and 2 off pieces with a focus on getting speed to 160. Honestly, that will be the best option for most people. Moving on to her weapons, and to no one's surprise, her signature is obviously the best in slot, since it increases crit rate and damage for all. Bronya's Light Cone is another solid choice, since it gives ER and also regenerates an extra skill point every 2 ults. As for the 4-star weapons, Asta's Light Cone is a really good choice in a team where the main DPS is Quantum. Another good option is Dance, which will advance forward your entire team when using ultimate. And if you don't have these gacha 4-star weapons, then you can go for past and future, but that weapon's passive is dependent on your DPS going right after Sparkle's skill, which will require some speed tuning. Another decent option is Pingyun's Battle Pass Light Cone, which I am personally not a big fan of, but I digress. Another meh option is Dreamville Adventure, which is the new MOC shop Light Cone, and I'm personally not a big fan of that. So with all of that being said, let's discuss teams. And I'm pretty sure that by now, it's obvious that skill point hungry units like Dan Heng and QQ are the biggest winners here, since they can trigger her talent in just one turn, getting all her buffs and making good use of her ultimate skill point regeneration. Besides these two, follow-up attackers like Topaz and Dr. Ratio can also benefit from her due to her skill effect lasting till the ally's next turn, meaning the follow-up attack of these units will be buffed as well. Other effective choices include units which are traditionally slow like Argenti, Midyuan and Clara. Another unit making a return from the dead is Zila in a mono quantum team. Sparkle is also super good with skill point consuming sustainers like Welt, Huo and Lynx. And finally, you can also run her with Jingliu and Blade, but those two won't be able to make full use of Sparkle's kit considering they don't really use many skill points. Now, before I answer the two major questions on everyone's minds, let's discuss her Eidolons in brief. Her even gives an attack buff on ult and makes her ult buff last for one more turn. Her E2 adds defense ignore ability to her talent and that also stacks. Her E4 increases the max number of skill points by 1, meaning 8 skill points in total, and the ultimate regenerates an extra skill point. And finally, her E6, which makes her absolutely bonkers since it basically increases the buff given by her skill and extends that buff from just one unit to all units, provided you used her ultimate first. So finally, the two questions on everyone's minds. First, light cone or even? Well, I recommend light cone since it's a really powerful buff overall, and if you are planning on pulling her Eidolons, then E2 is a good stopping point. Second question, should you pull for her? Well, she's a really good unit, and if you like her, then you are racist. And if you like her, then pull for her, unless you're saving for Acheron. And honestly speaking, Sparkle is literally getting the Yoimiya treatment because she is being skipped by everyone in anticipation of Raiden, which is Acheron in this game. So yeah, pull for her if you like her. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. And if you did, then make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. And I'll see you all next time.